Millionaire catches a poor 7-year-old girl protecting his paralyzed 6-year-old son on the flight from an arrogant passenger and does something that will make you cry. Before we tell this tale, hit like and comment where you're watching from and one word that describes you. Sir, I paid for first class. I demand that seat. The man's voice boomed across the airplane cabin, causing several passengers to turn their heads. 6-year-old Noah Parker flinched in his window seat, his small hands gripping the armrests. The braces on his thin legs knocked against the seat in front of him. But this is our seat. See? 3A. It's on our ticket, Noah whispered, his voice barely audible over the commotion of boarding passengers. The businessman looming over him scoffed, his expensive suit perfectly pressed, his leather briefcase clutched tightly in his manicured hand. Listen, kid, I don't care what your ticket says. I fly this route every week, and I always sit by the window. Your condition would be better suited for the aisle anyway. Noah's eyes filled with tears. He'd been so excited for this trip. After 3 surgeries in Boston, his doctors had finally given him permission to fly back home to San Francisco. His father had arranged everything perfectly. The window seat so Noah could watch the clouds, the extra legroom for his braces, even his favorite dinosaur pillow placed carefully on the seat. But his father had stepped away to take an urgent business call just before boarding, leaving Noah with strict instructions to wait in his assigned seat. Now this angry man wanted to take it away. "Please, sir, my dad said—" "I don't care what your dad said," the man interrupted, his patience visibly thinning. "Move to the aisle seat, now." Noah tried to reach for his crutches propped against the window, but they were too far away. Panic rose in his chest. Where was his dad? The flight attendants were busy helping other passengers. No one seemed to notice his distress. That's when a small voice cut through the tension like a knife. "Leave him alone." Noah turned to see a girl standing in the aisle. She couldn't have been more than 7 years old, with unruly dark curls framing a determined face. Her faded blue dress had a small patch on one sleeve, and her sneakers were worn at the edges. She clutched a tattered backpack to her chest. The businessman looked down at her with undisguised contempt. "Mind your own business, little girl." The girl didn't budge. Instead, she stepped closer to Noah's seat, positioning herself between him and the angry man. "He was here first, and he has a ticket. You're being a bully." The businessman's face reddened. "Listen here." "No, you listen," the girl interrupted, her voice surprisingly steady. "My grandma says that big people who pick on little people are the smallest people of all, and you're acting really, really small right now." A few nearby passengers chuckled, and the businessman's face flushed deeper. "How dare you?" "Is there a problem here?" The deep voice came from behind them. Noah's face lit up with relief. "Dad!" Alexander Parker stood in the aisle, his 6'2" frame commanding immediate attention. At 35, he carried himself with the quiet confidence that had helped build his tech empire. His casual attire, designer jeans and a simple black sweater, belied his status as one of Silicon Valley's youngest billionaires. But it wasn't Alex's wealth or status that made the businessman take a step back. It was the unmistakable look of a father whose child was being threatened. "This man wants my seat, Dad," Noah explained, his voice small but steady now that his father had arrived. Alex's eyes narrowed as he assessed the situation. He noted his son's distress, the businessman's aggressive stance, and most surprisingly, the small girl who had planted herself firmly in the man's path. "I see," Alex said quietly. "And who might you be?" he asked, his gaze softening as he addressed the young girl. "I'm Lily," she replied, chin raised slightly. "I'm sitting in economy with my grandma, but I saw this man being mean to him." She pointed at Noah. Alex knelt down to be at eye level with Lily, temporarily ignoring the fuming businessman. "Thank you for looking out for my son, Lily. That was very brave of you." Lily shrugged, but a small smile played at her lips. My grandma says we gotta stand up for people who need help. Your grandma sounds like a wise woman, Alex replied, standing back up to his full height. He turned to the businessman, his expression hardening. My son has assigned seating due to medical accommodations. I suggest you find your actual seat, sir. The businessman opened his mouth to argue, but thought better of it when he noticed a flight attendant approaching. With a final glare at Noah, he stormed off toward the back of the first-class cabin. You okay, buddy? Alex asked, gently ruffling Noah's sandy blonde hair. Noah nodded, but his hands were still trembling. Lily helped me, Dad. She wasn't scared at all. Alex turned back to thank the little girl, but she was already walking away, her small shoulders squared as she headed toward the economy section. Wait, Alex called after her. Lily! She paused, turning back with curiosity in her dark eyes. Alex made a quick decision that would change all their lives forever. He approached her with a gentle smile. Would you and your grandmother like to join us in first class, as a thank you for helping Noah? Lily's eyes widened. Really? But Grandma says we can't take charity. It's not charity, Alex assured her. It's a thank you for your kindness. Would you introduce me to your grandmother? Lily nodded, suddenly shy. She's in row 32. Her name is Mrs. Wilson and she has silver hair. Lead the way, Alex said, offering his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Lily took it, her small fingers disappearing into his palm as she led him toward the back of the plane. What Alex didn't know as they walked down the aisle was how this simple act of gratitude would set in motion events that would bind their families together in ways none of them could imagine. Grandma, this is Noah's dad, Lily announced as they reached row 32, where an elderly woman sat reading a paperback book. The man I told you about. Margaret Wilson looked up, her sharp eyes assessing Alex from behind wire-rimmed glasses. With silver hair pulled back in a neat bun and a cardigan despite the summer heat, she exuded dignity and self-sufficiency. I apologize if my granddaughter bothered you, sir. Not at all, Alex replied, extending his hand. Alexander Parker. Your granddaughter just stood up to a rather unpleasant businessman who was trying to take my son's seat. She was quite remarkable. Margaret shook his hand, her grip surprisingly firm despite the slight swelling around her knuckles. Lily has strong opinions about fairness, she said, a hint of pride in her voice. I've come to invite you both to join us in first class for the flight, Alex continued, as a thank you for Lily's kindness. Margaret's posture stiffened slightly. That's very generous, Mr. Parker, but unnecessary. Alex had anticipated this response. Actually, my son Noah is recovering from surgery. This is his first flight since the procedures, and he's quite nervous. Lily seems to have a calming effect on him. He lowered his voice. It would be a personal favor to me. Margaret studied him carefully, looking for any sign of condescension. Finding none, she glanced at Lily, whose hopeful expression was impossible to miss. Noah has leg braces, Grandma, Lily added, and he has a dinosaur pillow named Rexy. This detail seemed to soften Margaret's resolve. After a moment's consideration, she nodded once. Very well, Mr. Parker, for the boy's sake. Relief washed over Lily's face as she bounced on her toes. Can I get my backpack, Grandma? Carefully, please. As Lily retrieved her belongings from under the seat, Alex helped Margaret stand. He noticed her wince slightly as she rose. Are you all right, Mrs. Wilson? He asked, concern evident in his voice. Just old bones, Mr. Parker, she replied with a dismissive wave. Nothing to fuss about. Alex didn't press the issue, but as they made their way back up the aisle, he discreetly typed a message on his phone to his assistant. Need info on best rheumatologists in San Francisco. Priority. By the time they reached row 3, Noah was sitting up straighter, his dinosaur pillow clutched to his chest and his eyes bright with anticipation. Noah, Alex said, this is Mrs. Wilson and her granddaughter Lily, who you've already met. They'll be joining us for the flight. Noah's smile was immediate and genuine. "Hi, do you like dinosaurs? This is Rexy. He helps me be brave at hospitals." Lily climbed into the seat beside Noah, her earlier boldness momentarily replaced by shyness. "I like dinosaurs, but I like space better. Stars and planets and black holes." "Black holes are cool," Noah agreed enthusiastically. "My dad took me to the planetarium last year, and they showed how black holes eat stars." As the children fell into easy conversation, Alex helped Margaret settle into the seat across the aisle. A flight attendant appeared almost immediately. "Can I get you anything before takeoff, Mr. Parker?" "Mrs. Wilson," Margaret supplied. "And no, thank you, I'm fine." Alex smiled at the attendant. "We're all set for now, Jessica. Thank you." As Jessica moved away, Margaret raised an eyebrow at Alex. "You know the flight attendants by name?" "I fly this route often for business," Alex replied. "You learn names after a while." "And what business might that be, Mr. Parker?" Before Alex could answer, the captain's voice came over the intercom, announcing their imminent departure. As the plane began to taxi, Alex noticed Lily reaching across to take Noah's hand when the engines roared to life. Noah, who normally tensed during takeoff, seemed to draw strength from the small girl's surprisingly steady grip. As the plane climbed through the clouds, Alex watched the children's heads bent together over the window, pointing at the shrinking landscape below. Beside him, Margaret discreetly massaged her wrist, an action she quickly stopped when she noticed his attention. "Your granddaughter mentioned you live in Montana," Alex asked conversationally. "Bozeman," Margaret confirmed. "I taught high school there for 30 years before becoming principal. I retired 2 years ago." "To care for Lily," Alex guessed softly. Margaret's eyes revealed a flicker of pain before she nodded. "My son and his wife were killed in an accident. Lily was in the car but survived." "I'm very sorry," Alex said, genuine empathy in his voice. "My wife passed 4 years ago. Noah was just 2. Understanding passed between them, the unspoken bond of those who've navigated loss while guiding children through grief's turbulent waters." "What brings you to San Francisco?" Alex asked after a respectful pause. "Medical consultation," Margaret answered, her tone making it clear she didn't wish to elaborate. Alex respected her privacy. "Well, I hope our city treats you kindly during your stay. Noah and I would be happy to recommend some child-friendly attractions if you have time." Margaret's polite reply was interrupted by Lily's excited voice. "Noah says you have a real telescope at your house that can see Saturn's rings. Is that true?" Alex smiled at her enthusiasm. "It certainly is. Noah loves astronomy." "I love space too," Lily exclaimed. "My dad used to show me constellations before he went to heaven." The simple phrase hung in the air, its innocence making its tragedy all the more poignant. "Perhaps you'd like to use the telescope during your visit," Alex offered gently. "We have reservations at the airport motel," Margaret interjected quickly. "I insist you reconsider," Alex replied. "My home has several guest rooms sitting empty. It would be a pleasure to host you both, even if just for a night." Margaret began to refuse, but the hope shining in both children's eyes gave her pause. "We'll discuss it after we land," she said finally, neither accepting nor refusing. Alex nodded, satisfied with this small victory. Looking at the children now chattering about rockets and stars, he felt an odd certainty that these strangers were meant to enter their lives, that Lily's brave intervention had been more than chance. He just needed to convince Margaret Wilson to let him help her. The flight reached cruising altitude, and the seatbelt sign dinged off. Noah and Lily had their heads together, poring over the interactive map on the seatback screen, tracking their progress across the country. "Look, we're already over Nevada," Noah exclaimed, pointing at the tiny airplane icon inching its way westward. "That's not Nevada yet," Lily corrected gently. "That's still Utah. See the Great Salt Lake." Her small finger traced the blue expanse on the screen. My teacher showed us on the map last year. Nevada comes after. Alex, who had been reviewing emails on his tablet, glanced over with surprise. Most children her age wouldn't know state geography so precisely. He caught Margaret's eye across the aisle and saw a flash of pride in her expression before she returned to her book, a well-worn paperback with a library barcode on the spine. The flight attendant returned with the first-class meal service. "Chicken parmesan or grilled salmon today?" she asked. Noah immediately chose the chicken, while Alex opted for the salmon. When Jessica turned to Margaret and Lily, there was a moment of hesitation. "The meals are included with the seats," Alex explained quietly, sensing Margaret's discomfort. "Salmon, please," Margaret decided after a moment. "Lily will have the chicken." As Jessica arranged their tray tables and served the meals, Alex noticed Lily's wide-eyed wonder at the real silverware and cloth napkins. She waited, watching Noah carefully to mirror his movements, unfolding her napkin and placing it on her lap with exaggerated precision. "So, Mrs. Wilson," Alex began conversationally, "you mentioned you're heading to San Francisco for medical consultations. I hope nothing serious." Margaret took a small bite of salmon before responding. "Rheumatoid arthritis. It's been getting worse this past year. Our local doctor in Bozeman referred us to a specialist at UCSF. Grandma's hands hurt all the time now," Lily added solemnly. "She can't knit me mittens anymore." "Lily," Margaret admonished gently, "we don't burden others with our troubles." "It's not a burden to listen," Alex replied, his voice kind. "UCSF has an excellent rheumatology department. Dr. Melissa Chen is particularly renowned for her work with innovative treatments." Margaret looked at him with surprise. "That's precisely who we're seeing. How did you know?" Alex smiled. "Medical technology is one area my company focuses on. We fund research at several major institutions, including UCSF. Your company?" Margaret inquired, setting down her fork. "Horizon Innovations," Alex replied. "We develop and invest in technologies across various sectors: healthcare, sustainable energy, communications." Recognition dawned in Margaret's eyes. "You're that Alexander Parker, the tech billionaire." Alex nodded, somewhat uncomfortable with the label. "I prefer entrepreneur, but yes." Margaret's expression cooled slightly. "I see. And is this how you typically spend your billions? Upgrading random economy passengers to first class?" The question had an edge to it that made Alex pause. "Not typically, no, but I meant what I said about appreciating Lily's kindness toward Noah. Money doesn't solve every problem, Mrs. Wilson, but sometimes it can remove unnecessary obstacles." Before Margaret could respond, a small gasp from Noah interrupted their conversation. "Dad, look what Lily can do!" Alex turned to see Lily balancing a fork on the edge of her water glass, the utensil perfectly centered and completely still. "My grandma taught me," Lily explained proudly. "It's about finding the center of gravity." "Center of mass, actually," Margaret corrected with the hint of a smile. Lily's science teacher was quite impressed when she demonstrated it for the class. "That's amazing," Alex said genuinely. "Noah, why don't you try?" "Bro." As Noah attempted to replicate the trick, with Lily providing patient guidance, Alex noticed Margaret wincing as she cut her food. Her knuckles were visibly swollen, the simple task of holding silverware clearly causing her pain. "May I ask how long you've had rheumatoid arthritis, Mrs. Wilson?" Alex inquired softly, ensuring the children were absorbed in their balancing act. "Diagnosed 3 years ago," Margaret replied, keeping her voice low. "But it's been progressing rapidly these past 6 months. The medications help with pain, but not the damage." Alex nodded thoughtfully. "My late wife had lupus, different condition but similar challenges. The right treatment makes all the difference." Something in Margaret's expression shifted at the mention of Alex's wife. "I'm sorry for your loss, Mr. Parker." "Thank you," Alex replied simply. "It's been 4 years now. Noah was just 2 when she passed." Both adults fell silent, a new understanding forming between them. Across the aisle, Noah had finally balanced his fork successfully, prompting a cheer from Lily. "You did it!" she exclaimed, her entire face lighting up with genuine joy at his accomplishment. "Only because you showed me how," Noah replied, beaming with pride. Alex watched the interaction with a bittersweet pang. Noah rarely connected so easily with other children. His medical challenges and frequent hospital stays had made normal friendships difficult. Yet here he was, laughing and learning with a girl he'd met just an hour ago. The sound of Noah's laughter, so rare and precious these days, cemented Alex's decision. He would help this family, whether Margaret Wilson's pride welcomed it or not. As dessert was served, Alex discreetly checked his phone. His assistant had already replied to his earlier message with detailed information on Dr. Chen's research and current clinical trials for advanced rheumatoid arthritis treatments. One particular study caught his eye, a new biological therapy showing promising results, currently in its final phase of testing at UCSF. Alex made a mental note to call Dr. Chen personally before the Wilsons' appointment. If Margaret's condition qualified for the trial, he would ensure she had access. What Alex didn't realize was how closely Margaret was observing him. Despite her modest circumstances, she had built a successful career as a high school principal before retirement. She had become adept at reading people, particularly those with something to prove. And Alexander Parker, for all his wealth and success, struck her as a man trying to fill an absence he couldn't quite name. The flight attendant's voice came over the intercom, announcing their initial descent into San Francisco. Alex glanced at his watch. They had been in the air for just over 4 hours, yet it felt like moments had passed. Beside him, Noah and Lily had progressed from balancing forks to creating an elaborate game involving the in-flight magazines, napkins, and Noah's dinosaur toy. "And now Rexy has to cross the lava river," Noah narrated seriously, moving his dinosaur across a series of napkins laid out between their tray tables. "But the volcano is erupting," Lily added with dramatic flair, shaking the safety instruction card. "He has to hurry." Alex couldn't help but smile at their creativity. Children could transform the mundane into magic with nothing but imagination. It was a gift adults too often lost. Margaret had dozed off about an hour into the flight, her book still open in her lap. Now she stirred, adjusting her glasses and checking her watch. "We're beginning our descent," Alex informed her. "Should be on the ground in about 30 minutes. Margaret nodded, discreetly massaging her wrist. "Thank you. I didn't mean to fall asleep." "You needed the rest," Alex replied simply. "If you don't mind me asking, what are your arrangements in San Francisco? Hotel, family?" A flicker of concern crossed Margaret's face before she composed herself. "We have a reservation at a motel near the hospital. Nothing fancy, but it's clean and within our budget." Alex frowned slightly. "How long is your appointment schedule?" "Initial consultation tomorrow, then tests, possibly a follow-up next week if Dr. Chen wants to monitor my reaction to any new medications. We're prepared to stay up to 10 days. The plane hit a pocket of turbulence, causing a brief drop. Lily immediately reached for Noah's hand, and to Alex's surprise, it was Noah who offered reassurance. "It's okay," he said with the confidence of a seasoned traveler. "Dad says turbulence is just like driving over bumps in the road." Lily nodded, but kept hold of his hand until the plane steadied again. The interaction gave Alex an idea. "Mrs. Wilson, I have a suggestion, but I want you to hear me out completely before responding." Margaret raised an eyebrow but nodded for him to continue. "I maintain a residence in San Francisco, a penthouse in Pacific Heights. It has 4 bedrooms, and only Noah and I will be using it. I'd like to offer you and Lily 2 of the spare rooms during your stay. Margaret's expression immediately hardened. Mr. Parker, please, Alex interrupted gently, consider what's best for Lily. A comfortable, quiet place to stay, close to the hospital, with no expense to worry about. And selfishly, he added, it would give Noah more time with his new friend. You've seen how well they get along. Margaret glanced at the children, who were now whispering conspiratorially as they created a new obstacle for Rexy the dinosaur. It's too much, Margaret said firmly. We can't accept such charity. Then don't consider it charity, Alex countered. Consider it an exchange. Lily has already done something invaluable for Noah today. His confidence has grown more in these few hours than in months of therapy. He leaned closer, lowering his voice. Mrs. Wilson, I'm a practical man. My son is happier when Lily is around. You need a place to stay while receiving medical treatment. I have empty rooms gathering dust. Why not solve both our problems at once? Margaret studied him, her shrewd eyes missing nothing. And what would you expect in return, Mr. Parker? The question wasn't accusatory, but cautious, the instinctive wariness of someone who had learned that nothing in life comes truly free. Nothing beyond what you've already given, Alex answered honestly. The chance for Noah to have a friend. He's been isolated by his condition, surrounded by adults, doctors, therapists, tutors, but very few children. Today is the first time in months I've heard him laugh like that. Margaret remained silent, considering his words. Alex decided to try one final approach. If it makes you more comfortable, consider it a short-term rental. The going rate for a room in Pacific Heights is about $200 per night. That would be $4,000 for 10 days, which I believe is considerably more than your motel. So economically speaking, you'd be doing me a favor. A hint of amusement flickered in Margaret's eyes. Are you always this persistent, Mr. Parker? Only when I'm right, Alex replied with a small smile. The overhead speaker announced the final approach, instructing passengers to return seats to upright positions and stow tray tables. Grandma, look, Lily called across the aisle. You can see the Golden Gate Bridge. While both children had their faces pressed to Noah's window, marveling at the iconic red structure emerging through wisps of the city's famous fog. It's so big, Noah exclaimed. Dad, can we visit it while we're here? Of course, buddy, Alex replied. Maybe Lily and Mrs. Wilson would like to join us. He met Margaret's gaze, the question implicit in his expression. She sighed, her resistance visibly weakening as she watched Lily's excitement. One night, Margaret finally conceded. We'll stay one night and then reassess. I'll pay for meals and contribute to utilities. Alex knew better than to argue the point. Agreed. My driver will meet us at the terminal. He can take us all to Pacific Heights, and if you decide tomorrow that you'd prefer the motel, he'll drive you there with no questions asked. The plane's wheels touched down on the runway with a gentle bump. As they taxied toward the gate, Alex sent a quick text to his housekeeper, instructing her to prepare 2 additional bedrooms and stock the kitchen with fresh groceries. What began as a simple act of gratitude had evolved into something more complex. Alex wasn't sure why he felt so compelled to help this particular family, but as he watched Noah and Lily chattering about all the things they wanted to see in San Francisco, he knew only that he couldn't let them walk away just yet. As passengers began gathering their belongings, Alex noticed Lily carefully folding her napkin and placing it in her backpack. "What are you saving that for?" he asked curiously. Lily looked up, slightly embarrassed at being caught. "It's so soft, and it has the airline logo. I collect things from important days." "And is today an important day?" Alex asked. Lily nodded solemnly. "I made a new friend. That's always important." The simple wisdom in her words struck Alex deeply. In his world of billion-dollar deals and technological innovations, how often had he forgotten the profound importance of human connection? The sleek black Escalade pulled up to Alex's Pacific Heights residence as evening settled over San Francisco. The hillside location offered a panoramic view of the bay, the windows of the three-story modern mansion reflecting the golden hues of sunset. "You live here?" Lily whispered, her face pressed against the car window as they pulled into the circular driveway. "It looks like a castle." Noah giggled. "It's just home. Wait till you see my room. I have a telescope that can see Jupiter's moons." Margaret remained silent, but Alex noticed her straightening her cardigan and smoothing her silver hair, small, dignified preparations before entering a world so different from her own. Thomas, Alex's driver, came around to open their doors. With practiced efficiency, he retrieved Noah's crutches from the trunk and helped the boy stand while Alex gathered their luggage. "Welcome home, Mr. Parker, Noah." Thomas greeted them warmly. "And welcome to our guests as well." "Thank you, Thomas," Alex replied. "This is Mrs. Wilson and her granddaughter Lily. They'll be staying with us for a few days." Thomas nodded respectfully toward Margaret. "It's a pleasure, Ma'am. May I help with your bags?" "I can carry my own, thank you," Margaret answered, reaching for her modest suitcase. Alex intervened smoothly. "Thomas, would you mind showing Mrs. Wilson and Lily to their rooms? I need to help Noah with his evening exercises." Margaret reluctantly relinquished her suitcase, understanding the graceful out Alex had provided. She and Lily followed Thomas up the wide stone steps to the front entrance, while Alex knelt beside Noah. "How are your legs feeling, buddy? Scale of 1 to 10? Noah considered this seriously. "About a 6. They're kind of tired from sitting so long. We'll do your stretches right after dinner, okay? That should help." Alex helped Noah position his crutches, then walked slowly beside him toward the house. Inside, the spacious foyer opened into a great room with soaring ceilings and floor-to-ceiling windows framing the bay view. The decor was modern but warm, comfortable seating in neutral tones, abstract art on the walls, and a massive stone fireplace as the room's centerpiece. Despite the grandeur of the space, there were touches of family life everywhere. Noah's drawings framed alongside fine art, books stacked on side tables, a well-worn chess set by the window. Lily stood in the center of the room, turning in a slow circle to take it all in. "This is the biggest house I've ever been in," she declared with characteristic honesty. Mrs. Garcia, Alex's housekeeper, emerged from the kitchen, wiping her hands on a dish towel. In her 60s, with salt and pepper hair pulled into a practical bun, she had been with the Parker family since before Noah was born. "There you are," she exclaimed, immediately moving to embrace Noah. "How was your trip, mijo? Did the doctors say good things?" "They said I'm healing super fast, Mrs. G," Noah reported proudly. "And look, I made a friend. This is Lily. She saved my seat on the plane from a mean man." Mrs. Garcia raised her eyebrows at Alex, who mouthed, "Later," over Noah's head. "Well, any friend of Noah's is welcome here," Mrs. Garcia said warmly. "I've prepared the blue room for Mrs. Wilson and the yellow room for Lily. Dinner will be ready in 30 minutes, roast chicken with vegetables and rice." "Thank you, Elena," Alex said gratefully. "Would you mind showing Noah and Lily to the game room while I speak with Mrs. Wilson?" "Of course. Come, niños," Mrs. Garcia beckoned to the children. "Noah, perhaps you can show Lily your new train set." As the children followed Mrs. Garcia down the hallway, Alex turned to Margaret, who remained near the entrance, her posture rigid. "Can I offer you something to drink? Coffee? Tea? Something stronger?" "Tea would be fine," Margaret replied, finally stepping further into the room. Alex led her to the kitchen, a spacious area with professional-grade appliances and a large island at its center. As he filled an electric kettle, he noticed Margaret taking in the details of his home, not with envy, but with the careful assessment of someone trying to understand a person through their surroundings. "Your home is beautiful," she said finally. But it doesn't feel like a billionaire's showcase. It feels lived in. Alex smiled as he placed a selection of tea bags on the counter. Thank you. That's intentional. After Caroline, my wife, passed away, many people suggested I move, start fresh somewhere without the memories. But Noah needs stability, not another change. He poured the hot water into 2 mugs. Besides, a house is just a structure. It's the people inside who make it a home. Margaret selected an Earl Grey tea bag, dipping it methodically into the steaming water. A surprisingly grounded perspective for someone in your position. My position? Alex echoed, leaning against the counter. Wealth changes people, Mr. Parker, often not for the better. Alex considered this. Call me Alex, please. And yes, wealth changes circumstances, which in turn can change people. But I grew up in a single-wide trailer in rural Oregon. My mother worked 2 jobs to keep us afloat. Those experiences don't disappear, no matter how many commas are in my bank account now. Surprise flickered across Margaret's face. I wouldn't have guessed that background. Few do, Alex acknowledged. Which is why I make sure Noah understands where we came from. Money is a tool, Mrs. Wilson, not an identity. Margaret sipped her tea thoughtfully. And what about Noah's condition, if I may ask? Alex's expression sobered. Spinal stenosis combined with cerebral palsy affecting his lower limbs. He was born with it, a complication during birth. The doctors initially said he might never walk, but he's defied every prognosis so far. Pride softened his features. He's the bravest person I know. 3 major surgeries before age 6, and he still manages to smile through physical therapy sessions that would make grown men cry. Children are remarkably resilient, Margaret agreed quietly. Lily has weathered her own storms as well. Alex waited, sensing there was more to the story, but respecting Margaret's choice to share or withhold. After a moment, she continued. Her parents, my son and his wife, died in a car accident 2 years ago. Lily was in the back seat but escaped with minor injuries. I've had custody ever since. I'm so sorry, Alex said, genuine empathy in his voice. Margaret nodded once, acknowledging his sympathy. Life doesn't ask our permission before delivering its hardest blows. We simply adapt and continue. Dinner proceeded with unexpected ease. Mrs. Garcia had set the table in the less formal breakfast nook rather than the grand dining room, creating a cozy atmosphere that helped Margaret and Lily feel more comfortable. Noah dominated the conversation, eager to share stories about his school, his favorite places in San Francisco, and the model rocket he was building with his tutor. And Dad says when it's finished we can launch it at the park, Noah explained, his face animated with excitement. It can go up to 300 feet in the air. Maybe you can help us launch it, Lily. Lily's eyes widened with interest. I've never launched a rocket before. Is it hard? Not with the right guidance, Alex answered, passing the basket of dinner rolls. It's all about understanding the principles of physics, thrust, gravity, aerodynamics. Like my fork balance trick, Lily said thoughtfully. Science makes things work. Exactly, Alex smiled, impressed by her connection. Speaking of science, Noah mentioned you're interested in astronomy. Lily nodded enthusiastically. I love stars and planets. My dad used to. She hesitated, her voice faltering slightly. He used to take me stargazing before he went to heaven. We had a book about constellations. A brief silence fell over the table. Margaret reached over to squeeze Lily's hand. Well, Noah broke in, sensitive to the shift in mood. My telescope can see Saturn's rings. Dad, can I show Lily after dinner? Please. If it's all right with Mrs. Wilson, Alex replied, glancing at Margaret. Margaret nodded. That sounds lovely, but not too late. We have an important day tomorrow. As they continued eating, Alex observed the natural rhythm that had developed between the 2 children. Noah, usually reserved and cautious, was animated and confident, explaining things to Lily with the pride of a tour guide, showing off his hometown. Lily, for her part, listened attentively, but asked perceptive questions that occasionally stumped even Alex. So if black holes pull in light, how do scientists know they're there if no one can see them? She asked during a discussion of Noah's astronomy books. That's an excellent question, Alex replied, genuinely impressed. They observe the effects of the black hole's gravity on nearby stars and gas. It's like seeing wind move the leaves on a tree. You can't see the wind itself, but you know it's there by what it does. Lily nodded seriously, absorbing this information. Like knowing someone loves you because of what they do, not just what they say. Margaret and Alex exchanged surprised glances at the child's insightful parallel. After dinner, while Mrs. Garcia cleared the dishes, firmly refusing Margaret's offers to help, Alex helped Noah with his stretching exercises in the living room. Lily watched with solemn interest as Noah winced through certain movements. "Does it hurt a lot?" she asked quietly. Noah, determined to be brave, shrugged. "Sometimes, but Dad says pain is just weakness leaving the body." Alex shook his head with a rueful smile. "That's not exactly what I said, buddy. I said that sometimes we have to work through discomfort to get stronger, but we should never ignore pain that's warning us something is wrong." "My grandma's hands hurt her all the time," Lily volunteered. "She pretends they don't, but I can tell." Margaret, who had been examining the bookshelves across the room, turned at this. "Lily, remember our discussion about privacy?" "Sorry, Grandma," Lily replied, though she didn't look particularly repentant. "But Dr. Chen is going to help, right? That's why we're here." "We hope so," Margaret answered simply. Once Noah's exercises were complete, Alex helped him stand. 15 minutes with the telescope, then it's bedtime for everyone. It's been a long day. The children hurried off to Noah's room. Noah moving with practiced efficiency on his crutches, Lily unconsciously slowing her pace to match his. Left alone with Margaret, Alex poured 2 glasses of red wine and offered one to her. After a moment's hesitation, she accepted. "Your granddaughter is remarkable," Alex said, settling into an armchair opposite Margaret. Her questions about astronomy were graduate-level thinking. "She's always been curious," Margaret replied, pride evident in her voice. "Her father, my son, was the same way. Always asking why, never satisfied with simple answers." "She mentioned he passed away," Alex said gently. "I'm very sorry." Margaret took a sip of wine before responding. 2 years ago, a drunk driver crossed the median. James and Diana were killed instantly. Lily was the only survivor." "That's unimaginable," Alex said softly. "How has she coped?" "Children adapt because they must," Margaret replied. "She has nightmares sometimes, asks questions about heaven, worries incessantly about losing me, too." She paused, looking down at her swollen hands. "Which is why this arthritis couldn't have come at a worse time. She needs stability, not a grandmother who can't button her own cardigan." The vulnerability in this admission clearly cost Margaret, and Alex recognized it as the gift it was, a small window into her fears. "Medical science advances every day," he said carefully, "and Dr. Chen is truly at the forefront of rheumatoid arthritis research. If anyone can help, she can. If we can afford the treatment," Margaret added pragmatically. "Our insurance is basic. Experimental treatments aren't covered." Alex chose his next words with care, wary of offending her pride. "There are patient assistance programs, clinical trials with covered costs. I'm happy to have my assistant research options." Margaret studied him over her wine glass. "Why are you doing this, Mr. Parker? Taking in strangers, offering help. What's your interest here?" The directness of the question demanded equal honesty. Alex considered his answer before speaking. "When my wife was dying, a stranger helped us once," he said finally. "We were at Stanford Medical Center. Caroline was having a bad reaction to a new medication. Noah was just a toddler, crying, scared. I was trying to deal with doctors. Hold Noah, keep it together. and failing at all three. He took a sip of wine, the memory still vivid. This older gentleman, another patient's family member, just walked over and took Noah, said, "Let me help you carry this burden for a moment." He sat with Noah in the waiting room for hours, reading him stories while I dealt with Caroline's crisis. I never even got his name. Alex looked directly at Margaret. He reminded me that we're not meant to face our hardest moments alone, that sometimes the kindness of strangers is what gets us through. I've never forgotten that. Margaret's expression softened slightly. "And you see us as your chance to pay it forward?" "I see a brave little girl who protected my son when I wasn't there," Alex corrected gently, "and I see her grandmother facing a medical challenge while trying to be everything for that child. Yes, I want to help if I can." Morning sunlight streamed through the bay windows of Alex's kitchen, where Noah and Lily sat at the counter, eating pancakes shaped like stars. Mrs. Garcia moved efficiently around them, slicing fresh fruit and pouring orange juice. "Mrs. G makes the best pancakes ever," Noah told Lily, his cheeks puffed with food. "The secret is vanilla extract." "And patience," Mrs. Garcia added with a wink, "something certain young people could learn more about." Lily carefully cut her pancake into precise triangles. "My grandma makes good pancakes too, but they're always circles. I've never had star ones before." "I can teach your grandmother my secret recipe," Mrs. Garcia offered. Lily brightened. "That would be nice. Her hands hurt when she has to stir things for a long time." Alex entered the kitchen, already dressed in a tailored charcoal suit. "Good morning, everyone. Noah, remember you have physical therapy at 2 this afternoon. Mrs. Wilson, Thomas will take you to your appointment at 11, then bring you back here afterward if that works for your schedule." "That's very generous, but—" Margaret began as she joined them, her silver hair neatly arranged, wearing the same cardigan as yesterday. "Please," Alex interrupted smoothly, "it's on Thomas's route. Noah and I have a meeting with his doctors at UCSF at 2, so we'll all be heading in the same direction." Margaret hesitated, then nodded once. "Thank you." Alex poured himself coffee. "I was thinking, Lily might enjoy spending time with Noah while you're at your appointment. His tutor is coming at 9 to work on science projects. They're building model rockets. Lily seems interested in science. She might find it educational." Lily's eyes lit up. "Can I, Grandma? Please!" Margaret couldn't resist her granddaughter's excitement. "I suppose that would be all right, as long as we're not imposing." "Not at all," Alex assured her. "Noah's been talking about showing Lily his rocket designs since he woke up." Noah nodded vigorously. "I have 3 different designs. One has fins that look like dinosaur plates." The children chatted enthusiastically about rockets, while Alex subtly guided Margaret toward the coffee maker. "I hope you slept well," he asked quietly. "Better than I have in months," Margaret admitted. "I didn't realize how exhausting travel would be." Alex nodded sympathetically. "About Dr. Chen, she's brilliant, but direct. Don't let her demeanor discourage you. It's just her way." Margaret raised an eyebrow. "You seem to know a lot about my doctor, Mr. Parker. As I mentioned, my company funds some of her research, and please, call me Alex." Before Margaret could respond, his phone buzzed. He glanced at it and frowned. "I need to take this. Work emergency, excuse me." As Alex stepped away to take the call, Margaret watched him go with a mixture of suspicion and curiosity. His generosity still seemed too good to be true, yet nothing in his manner suggested ulterior motives. He genuinely seemed to want to help. Margaret turned her attention back to the children, who were now engaged in a serious discussion about whether Pluto should still be considered a planet. "It's too small," Noah argued. "My astronomy book says it's even smaller than our moon." "Size doesn't matter," Lily countered with the certainty only a 7-year-old could muster. "It's about location and orbit. Pluto belongs with the other planets." "Actually," Margaret interjected, her teacher instinct surfacing, Pluto is classified as a dwarf planet now because it hasn't cleared its orbital path of other objects. Both children looked at her with matching expressions of confusion. "Think of it like this," Margaret explained, warming to her subject. "A true planet is like the biggest kid on the playground who's claimed their territory. No one else is allowed in their space. Pluto is more like a small child who still has to share." "Oh!" Noah exclaimed. "That makes sense." Lily nodded slowly, processing this information. "So Pluto isn't strong enough to be a real planet?" "It's not about strength," Margaret corrected gently. "It's about the rules scientists use to categorize objects in space." Alex returned in time to hear this exchange. "Mrs. Wilson, you missed your calling as a science teacher. That was a brilliant explanation. Dr. Melissa Chen's office at UCSF Medical Center was a model of minimalist efficiency. Clean lines, sparse decoration, state-of-the-art equipment. The doctor herself matched her surroundings, precise, focused, with an economy of movement that suggested she never wasted a single moment. "Mrs. Wilson," she said, reviewing the file on her tablet, "your case is progressing more rapidly than typical for someone your age. The inflammation markers in your blood work are concerning." Margaret sat straight-backed in the chair opposite Dr. Chen's desk, her hands folded in her lap to hide their trembling, not from fear, but from pain. "What are my options?" "Standard treatments haven't slowed the progression significantly," Dr. Chen replied, swiping through charts on her screen. "I'd like to discuss enrolling you in a clinical trial for a new biologic therapy showing promising results in cases like yours." Margaret's heart sank. "I don't believe my insurance would cover experimental treatments, Doctor." "The trial is fully funded," Dr. Chen responded without looking up. "All expenses related to the treatment would be covered. You'd need to commit to weekly appointments for the first month, then bi-weekly for 5 months. Margaret frowned. "We're only in San Francisco for 10 days. I can't possibly—" "Arrangements could be made," Dr. Chen interrupted, finally meeting Margaret's eyes. "The foundation funding this research is particularly motivated to include patients with your specific presentation." Something in the doctor's tone caught Margaret's attention. "Which foundation would that be?" "The Caroline Parker Foundation for Autoimmune Research." Margaret went still. "Parker? As in Alexander Parker?" Dr. Chen nodded once. "He established it after his wife died from complications of lupus. It's one of our major funding sources." Realization dawned on Margaret. "Did Mr. Parker contact you about my case?" Dr. Chen's expression remained professional. "I'm not at liberty to discuss other conversations. However, I will say your case genuinely qualifies for this trial, regardless of any personal connections. The decision is entirely yours, Mrs. Wilson." Margaret's mind raced. Was this why Alex had been so insistent on helping them? Had he already arranged all this before even meeting them on the plane? "I need time to consider," Margaret said finally. "Of course, but I should mention that spaces in the trial are limited. I would need your decision by the end of the week." As Margaret left the consultation room, her emotions churned between gratitude and indignation. The treatment could potentially halt her disease progression, give her more pain-free years with Lily. Yet the manner in which it had been orchestrated made her feel like a charity case, her independence undermined. In the waiting area, she was surprised to see Alexander Parker himself, ostensibly engrossed in his phone. "This is quite the coincidence," Margaret said, her tone making it clear she believed it was anything but. Alex looked up, not bothering to feign surprise. "How was your consultation?" "Illuminating," Margaret replied, "in more ways than one." Alex pocketed his phone and stood. "Mrs. Wilson, did you arrange all this before you even met us?" Margaret asked directly. "Is that why you insisted we stay with you?" "No," Alex answered honestly. "I contacted Dr. Chen after meeting you on the plane. Your condition is exactly the type her current trial is designed to address. I simply made the connection. And the fully funded treatment, the special arrangements for someone who lives out of state. Was that your doing as well? Alex met her gaze steadily. The Caroline Parker Foundation exists to help people access treatments they otherwise couldn't afford. My wife would have lived longer with the therapies being developed now. I can't change that, but I can help others. Back at Alex's home, Noah and Lily had spent the morning building model rockets under the supervision of Noah's tutor, a graduate student named Marcus. They now sat in the garden, carefully painting their creations. "Mine is going to be red with gold stripes," Noah announced, his tongue poking out of the corner of his mouth as he concentrated on not smudging the paint. "I'm making mine look like the night sky," Lily replied, dabbing tiny white dots over a dark blue base. "With all the constellations in the right places." Marcus checked his watch. "We should wrap up soon, Noah. Your physical therapy session is in an hour." Noah's face fell slightly. "I don't feel like going today. My legs don't hurt that much." "That's why it's a good day to go," Marcus reminded him gently. "It's easier to make progress when you're not in pain." Lily looked up from her rocket. "Why do you need therapy if you're not hurting?" "It's to help my muscles get stronger," Noah explained, "so I can walk better someday. But it's hard work and sometimes boring." Lily considered this. "My dad used to say that hard work pays off double. That means you get twice as much good stuff later if you do the hard stuff now." Noah thought about this for a moment. "Your dad sounds smart. Was he a scientist too?" "He was an engineer," Lily said proudly. "He built bridges, really big ones that cars drive on." "That's cool. My dad builds computer stuff, which is cool too, but you can't see it like bridges." Marcus smiled at their exchange. "Both are important. Bridges connect places, and computers connect people and ideas." Lily nodded solemnly. "My grandma says connections are what make life worth living. She says we're all just stars looking for our constellations." "That's very poetic," Marcus commented, impressed. "What's poetic?" Noah asked, unfamiliar with the word. "It means it uses beautiful words to explain something important," Lily answered, before Marcus could. "My teacher said I write poetic stories sometimes." The sound of the front door opening interrupted their conversation. Alex's voice called out, "We're home!" Noah immediately perked up. "Dad, come see our rockets!" Alex appeared in the garden doorway, followed by a subdued-looking Margaret. While Alex exclaimed appropriately over the children's creations, Margaret stood slightly apart, watching the scene with an unreadable expression. "Grandma!" Lily ran over to her. "Look at my rocket. It has all the real constellations on it." Margaret's expression softened as she examined Lily's handiwork. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. You've done a wonderful job with the Big Dipper." "Noah's going to physical therapy soon," Lily informed her. "Can we go too? I want to see what they do there." Margaret glanced at Alex, who nodded. "If it's all right with Noah and his therapist, I don't see why not." "Yes," Lily exclaimed, turning to Noah. "I'll cheer for you." Noah beamed, his earlier reluctance forgotten. "Maybe you can help count my exercises. I have to do 20 of each kind." As the children chattered excitedly, Alex moved to stand beside Margaret. "I hope you're not upset about Dr. Chen," he said quietly. Margaret was silent for a moment, watching the children. "I don't like feeling manipulated, Mr. Parker." "That wasn't my intention." "Wasn't it?" Margaret turned to face him. "You've orchestrated everything since the moment we met. First-class seats, luxury accommodation, private drivers, and now specialized medical treatment." "I've offered resources I happen to have," Alex corrected gently. "You've been free to refuse at any point." 2 weeks had passed since their first meeting on the airplane. Despite Margaret's initial resistance, she and Lily had remained at Alex's home. The clinical trial had begun, with Margaret receiving her first treatment a week ago. To everyone's surprise, she was already showing signs of improvement. The morning stiffness in her hands had decreased noticeably. Today was special, Noah's 7th birthday. The kitchen had been transformed with streamers and balloons, and Mrs. Garcia was putting the finishing touches on a dinosaur-shaped cake. "When is Lily coming back?" Noah asked for the 3rd time that morning. Margaret had taken her granddaughter shopping for Noah's gift, insisting on this small act of normalcy despite Alex's offers to handle everything. "They should be here any minute," Alex assured him, adjusting the party hat on his son's head. "Are you excited about your party?" Noah nodded enthusiastically. "Doctor, Robert said maybe I can try standing without my crutches today, just for a little bit, to blow out the candles." Alex's heart swelled with pride and hope. Noah's physical therapist had been impressed with his progress these past 2 weeks. Whether it was the motivation of having a new friend or simply coincidental timing, Noah was showing remarkable improvement in his strength and balance. The front door opened and Lily's voice called out, "We're back! Don't look, Noah!" Noah obediently covered his eyes as Lily entered the kitchen, carefully carrying a gift-wrapped package. Margaret followed, carrying several shopping bags, her movements noticeably less pained than they had been 2 weeks ago. "Happy birthday," Lily announced, placing her gift on the table in front of Noah. "Can I look now?" Noah asked, fingers still spread over his eyes. "Yes," Lily giggled. Noah uncovered his eyes and gasped at the present. "It's big. What is it?" "You have to open it to find out," Lily said with the exaggerated patience of a child explaining the obvious. As Noah tore into the wrapping paper, Margaret moved to stand beside Alex. "She insisted on spending her own saved allowance," she murmured. "Nothing would dissuade her." Alex smiled. "Noah will treasure it all the more knowing that." The paper fell away to reveal a telescope, smaller and simpler than the one in Noah's room, but perfectly sized for a child to handle independently. "It's your own telescope," Lily explained excitedly. "It's portable so you can take it anywhere. The man at the store said it can see Jupiter's moons too, just like your big one." Noah's face lit up with joy. "This is the best present ever." He looked at his father. "Dad, can we take it to the park sometime? Lily said there's less light pollution there." "Absolutely," Alex agreed, impressed that Lily had learned about light pollution's effect on stargazing. "How about we do that tonight?" Margaret suggested. "The forecast says clear skies, and I believe there's a meteor shower." Both children erupted in cheers, and even Alex looked surprised at Margaret's suggestion. It was the first time she had initiated an activity for all of them together. "That sounds perfect," he said, meeting her eyes with a grateful smile. As Mrs. Garcia brought the cake to the table and everyone sang "Happy Birthday," Alex found himself studying Margaret. The clinical trial had not only improved her physical condition, it seemed to have eased some of her emotional guardedness as well. She smiled more readily, engaged more openly with him, and had stopped questioning every kindness as if searching for hidden motives. Noah stood carefully from his chair, balancing without his crutches just as he'd hoped to do. The room went quiet as he swayed slightly, then found his balance. 7 candles flickered before him, illuminating his determined face. "Make a wish, sweetheart," Margaret encouraged, her voice gentle. Noah closed his eyes for a moment, then blew out all 7 candles in one breath. Everyone clapped and cheered, but Alex noticed something curious. Noah and Lily exchanged a significant look, as if sharing a secret. Later, as the children enjoyed their cake, Alex helped Margaret carry dishes to the kitchen. "Noah seems stronger every day," Margaret observed. Alex nodded. "His therapist says he's making unprecedented progress. Having Lily here has motivated him in ways I never could." Margaret smiled softly. "They're good for each other. Lily's nightmares have stopped since we've been here. She's laughing more, being a child again, instead of carrying the weight of adult worries." The evening air at Golden Gate Park was crisp, carrying the salt tang of the nearby ocean. Alex spread a large blanket on the grass while Noah and Lily carefully set up the new telescope, following the instruction manual with intense concentration. "Point it there," Noah directed, indicating a spot in the darkening sky. "That's where Jupiter will appear first." Lily adjusted the telescope carefully. "Like this? Perfect. Now we wait for it to get darker." Margaret sat on the edge of the blanket, her movements easier than they had been in months. The clinical trial treatment was working better than anyone had anticipated. The inflammation in her joints had decreased significantly, and with it, much of her chronic pain. Alex settled beside her, offering a thermos. "Hot chocolate? Mrs. Garcia made it specially for our stargazing adventure." "Thank you." Margaret accepted the cup he poured. After a moment of companionable silence watching the children, she spoke again. "I've been thinking about Dr. Chen's suggestion." "About continuing the treatment back in Montana?" Alex asked. Margaret nodded. "She believes they can coordinate with my local hospital for the maintenance doses after the initial phase is complete here." "What? That's excellent news," Alex said, genuinely pleased. "The Foundation can arrange everything. You wouldn't need to worry about logistics or costs." Margaret turned to face him directly. "Why are you doing all this, Alex? And please don't give me the paying it forward explanation again. There's more to it, isn't there?" Alex was quiet for a moment, watching Noah and Lily, as they excitedly pointed out the first visible stars to each other. "Do you believe in fate, Margaret?" he finally asked. "Not in a mystical sense, but the idea that sometimes people come into our lives exactly when we need them most. I'm not sure I follow." "Oh, when I saw Lily standing up for Noah on that plane, something just clicked. Noah has every material advantage a child could want, but what he needed most was a friend who saw him, not his disability. And Lily." He gestured toward the little girl who was now showing Noah how to use the telescope's finder scope. She needed to know that her bravery and kindness matter in this world. Margaret's eyes softened. "And what about us? What did we adults need?" Alex smiled ruefully. "Maybe I needed to be reminded that all my resources mean nothing if they're not helping anyone. And perhaps you needed to learn that accepting help doesn't diminish your strength or independence." The honesty of his answer seemed to touch Margaret. She watched the children for a long moment before responding. "When James and Diana died, I thought my life was over too," she admitted quietly. "Everything became about survival, making sure Lily had stability, managing my health problems, stretching our limited income. I forgot that life should also contain joy." She turned back to Alex. "These past 2 weeks have reminded me what it feels like to just breathe, to not carry every burden alone." "I found something here too," Alex confessed. "Watching you with Noah, the way you talk to him, not around him or for him, it's helped me see him more clearly. I've been so focused on fixing his physical challenges that sometimes I forget to just enjoy who he is right now." 6 months later, Margaret stood in her kitchen in Bozeman, Montana, rolling out cookie dough with steady hands. The arthritis wasn't gone, but the treatment had halted its progression and significantly reduced her pain and inflammation. She could knit again, garden again, and most importantly, care for Lily without fear that her condition would worsen. The phone rang, and Margaret smiled when she saw Alex's name on the caller ID. "Hello, Alex. How was Noah's appointment?" "Incredible." Alex's voice was thick with emotion. "He took 12 steps completely unassisted today. The doctors are calling it remarkable progress." "Oh, Alex, that's wonderful news. Lily will be thrilled when she hears." "Is she there?" "Noah wants to tell her himself. She's at her science club meeting. Should be home in about an hour." "Perfect. We'll call back then. How are you feeling? Any side effects from the last treatment?" Margaret flexed her fingers. "None at all. Dr. Anderson says my markers are stable. The remote treatment program is working beautifully." Their conversation continued easily, the friendship that had formed over the past months evident in their comfortable exchange. What had begun as a chance encounter had evolved into a deep connection between two families that had known more than their share of hardship. The Caroline Parker Foundation had expanded its remote treatment program, inspired by Margaret's case. Now patients across rural America could access cutting-edge treatments without relocating to major cities. Alex had found a renewed purpose in this work, honoring his late wife's memory by helping others facing similar challenges. Noah and Lily video chatted almost daily, their friendship flourishing despite the distance between San Francisco and Bozeman. They were working on a joint science project, researching the effects of zero gravity on plant growth, with Noah handling the computer modeling and Lily conducting the experiments. As Margaret ended the call with Alex, she glanced at the calendar on her refrigerator. Circled in red was a date 2 weeks away, the Parkers' upcoming visit to Montana. Noah had never seen snow, and Alex had arranged for them to spend a week at a cabin near Yellowstone. Life had changed so dramatically since that flight 6 months ago. What began with a little girl's courage, standing up for a boy she'd never met, had rippled outward, transforming all their lives in ways none of them could have imagined. Margaret slid the cookies into the oven and walked to the living room, where photographs of their summer together sat framed on the mantel. Noah and Lily launching their rockets in Golden Gate Park, all 4 of them on a boat tour around the bay, Lily helping Noah stand without his crutches for the first time. These weren't just memories. They were milestones on an unexpected journey that had brought healing in its most complete form. Not just medical treatment for physical ailments, but the deeper healing that comes from connection, purpose, and hope. The most powerful medicine, Margaret had learned, often came in the form of human kindness. And sometimes the bravest guardian angels were small children with the courage to stand up for what was right. Outside, the first snowflakes of winter began to fall, dusting the world in pristine white. In 2 weeks, Noah would see this wonder for the first time, and Lily would be there to share his joy. Margaret smiled at the thought, grateful for the serendipitous moment when 2 families in need had found each other, precisely when they needed it most.